Scott, in the meantime, you've got the president acting very sort of Trump-like or Trumpian in terms of export restrictions and also tariffs, and the latest round, of course, on Chinese EVs, EV bats, et cetera. But you think we should be making a very clear distinction between what the president is doing and what former President Trump did do first time around?
I think that's true because, yes, we've seen an announcement of new tariffs, and there could be more. None of the old Trump tariffs were rolled back, but it's pretty clear that the Biden administration is trying to be targeted, and they focused on a specific set of technologies to impose new tariffs in response to a massive amount of Chinese industrial policy spending in these technologies, which is affecting the potential competitiveness of the U.S. and others and their ability to drive the green transition. They're also, and doing these, the U.S. is also in deep consultations with its allies and others around the world. In fact, the U.S. wasn't the first to start this. The EU was. And I think the U.S. is also investing in these industries as well in ways that a Trump administration wouldn't. And so there are some significant differences, but despite that, the fact that, yes, tariffs, we're hearing those again.
So, being targeted and surgical in certain verticals, I think, is a great idea, right? But in the horizontal, and when I'm talking about the supply chain, it's like playing whack-a-mole, right? No matter how you try and contain China, they invest and they move production to Vietnam, to Mexico, to Venezuela, et cetera, and the stuff still gets into the U.S. So the idea that former President Trump is talking about, or folks are saying that he is thinking about, rather, a blanket 10% tariff on anything that gets into the U.S. or comes into the U.S. that originates from China, wherever it ends up being, final assembly ends up being. Does that start to make more sense?
I think across the board tariff idea would be a horrible way for the U.S. economy to go. Yes, certainly challenges that the U.S. has faced in globalization and the movement of supply chains from the U.S. and manufacturing elsewhere. It's had negative effects on certain regions of the American economy. But in net, globalization has been beneficial for American innovation and for jobs. The U.S. needs to do a much better job of providing training, re-employment opportunities for all different parts of our economy. And we need to make our move into green tech affordable for everyone in the United States. These shouldn't be luxury goods. These should be available to everybody. But there are actions that the Chinese are taking because of non-market behavior that has to be countered. You just can't sit on your hands. And so I think that's what's animating the Biden administration, Japan, the EU, Brazil, and others. And so I think if we can find some off-ramp to escalating industrial policy and tariffs, that would be beneficial to everybody. I think throwing your hands up in the air and just saying, we're going to cut off MFN or 10% across the board, I think that just actually makes everybody poorer and actually doesn't really solve the original problem to begin with.